The President of the Portuguese Republic is the head of state of Portugal. Role: the Portuguese Third Republic is a semi-presidential system. The President theoretically has wide powers, but most are rarely used, following the precedent set by President António Ramalho and upheld by his successors Mário Soares and Jorge Sampaio. The President's greatest power is his/her ability to choose the Prime Minister. However, since the Assembly of the Republic has the sole power to dismiss the Prime Minister's government, the President is forced to name a Prime Minister who can command the support of a majority in the Assembly. The President has the discretionary power to dissolve Parliament when he sees fit, and President Sampaio made use of this prerogative in late 2004 to remove the controversial government of Pedro Santana Lopes, despite the absolute majority of MPs supporting the government. Prior to the Carnation Revolution, the powers of the presidency varied widely. Some presidents were virtual dictators, while others were little more than figureheads. Powers: the President exercises the supreme commander of the armed and Grand Master of the three orders forces and shall appoint and remove, at the proposal of the government, the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces and the military staff heads of the three branches the armed forces. The President can dissolve the Assembly of the Republic, which implies the need to call for new legislative elections and after the implementation of these, the resignation of the government. The President appoints the Prime Minister given the election results and appoints the other members of the government by proposal of the Prime Minister. It can, however, dismiss the government when this is necessary to ensure the smooth functioning of democratic institutions. Even the government bodies of the autonomous regions may be dissolved by the President, by committing serious acts contrary to the Constitution. The President declares a state of siege and emergency consultation with the government and with permission of Parliament. At the proposal of the government and with the authorization of Parliament, the President can declare war in the event of actual or imminent aggression and make peace. The President promulgates or vetoes the promulgation of signing laws, decree laws, regulatory decrees and other decrees of the government. In the area of its powers and international relations, the President of the Republic ratifies international treaties. The President decides on the referendum whose task is put to him by Parliament. The President of the Republic may request the Constitutional Court prior review of the constitutionality of the norms of international agreements or decrees that have been sent for promulgation as an organic law or ordinance. The President shall appoint and remove, in some cases a proposal from the government, holders of important state organs such as the Republic of Representatives for the Autonomous Regions, the President of the Court and the Attorney General, 5 members of the Council of State and 2 members of the Supreme Judicial Council. The President appoints ambassadors and special envoys, following proposal by the government, and believe the foreign diplomatic representatives. The President of the Republic after consultation with the government, pardons and commutes sentences. Election: under the Portuguese Constitution adopted in 1976, in the wake of the 1974 Carnation Revolution, the President is elected to a 5-year term. There is no limit to the number of terms a President may serve, but a President who serves 2 consecutive terms may not serve again in the next 5 years after the second term finishes or in the following 5 years after his resignation. The official residence of the Portuguese President is the Bela Copyright M Palace. The President is elected in a 2-round system. If no candidate reaches 50% of the votes during the first round, the 2 candidates with the most votes face each other in a second round held 2 weeks later. However, the second round has only been needed once, during the 1986 presidential election. To date, all of the elected presidents since the Carnation Revolution have served for 2 consecutive terms, and presidents consistently rank as the most popular political figure in the country. Recently, however, the popularity of the current President Cavaco Silva has plummeted, making him the second least popular political figure in the country, just above the Prime Minister, and the first Portuguese president after 1974 to have a negative popularity. If the President dies or becomes incapacitated while in office, the President of the Assembly assumes the office with restricted powers until a new president can be inaugurated following fresh elections. 2011 presidential election. State visits. The President of Portugal often makes official state visits to other foreign countries. For a list of visits made by President Cavaco Silva, see Living former presidents. There are 3 living former Portuguese presidents, living former presidents. See also, List of Presidents of Portugal, Politics of Portugal. References. External links, Official site of the Presidency of the Republic.